Sorry, didn't paste it right. All right, so, and by the way, there are multiple agentic coding frameworks that work fine. I'm using Cloud Code here, but I think kind of I also use Windsurf, Cursor, O3, one other tool that is not publicly accessible that I shouldn't talk about, but there's a whole bunch of these tools, all of which really work well, right? So here's my prompt. I'm telling it to read the instructions on my hard disk, and then this will run for like a minute or so. And then just to show you, I'm going to fast forward. I did this literally last night. Just to fast forward a little bit, if this will actually create a Streamlit app. Actually, let's see. Okay. Right, so this actually had agent instructions, create a file app.py, requirements.txt, and then if I run it, it creates this type of app. Right, here's a Staples invoice, artificial one, right? But this then here's an API that lets me upload an invoice, extracts the content and so on. With my prompt, it looks like it did not render this table in a way that I like. But so what I did last night was, this is my actual core session from last night, right? Ran the exact prompt, blah, blah, blah. And then I think this is what I said, improve the output formatting, fix this format. So a couple iterations, and then end up with a display that looks like this, where you can upload a PDF invoice like this, I don't know, visualize where I found the logo, text, a table, extract text, and so on, right? And this whole process took me about 15 minutes maybe to do Cloud Code, longer than I want to do the whole process here. Oh, it looks like this actually, it looks like it's actually finished, right? So it took a little bit longer. But with instructions for how to use the Land AI agentic doc extraction API, and then, like 10, 15 minutes of iteration, you can build like a decent application like this. And I want to show just one last demo, which is, so let's see, David Park and Cameron Maloney had built this one, also using AI. I think it took them like half a day. To build an invoice processing application. So here at Snowflake, we're hearing from a lot of financial services organizations, healthcare organizations, also governments, sovereign states with lots of documents. One of the common use cases is invoice matching. So if your finance has from credit card, bought from Office Depot, $89 worth of stuff, from Staples, $65 worth of stuff, with a Staples invoice, you can upload it for processing so that it can then take the invoice and try to match it to my database records. This is a very common enterprise workflow thing that today we have a lot of people doing it a very manual way that most people do not enjoy having to do it in a very manual way. But in literally about half a day, David and Cameron built an app that uses, because of the building block, right? Because of agentic doc extraction, it became possible to build this in half a day. Without agentic doc extraction, don't know how to do this half a day. But that building block, just processed the invoice and then found that, Staples actually found a mismatch. My receipt said I spent $120.15, whereas my record says it was invoice for $65. Also, they had enough time to put in weird jokes like that. But I think I find that with the right building blocks, the ability to build prototypes like this really rapidly is, I think, unlike anything the world had seen, 2 or 3 years ago.
Error rates are really high still.
So
obviously error rates.
All right, so that was a demo, right? I hope you get a sense of how rapidly this can take place when you write the instructions for the arm to use these APIs as well. And what you just saw was I was using Claude as my coding assistant today. Again, lots of others work great. Really, Windsurf, Cursor, O3, whatever. Lots of them work well. And then the 2 key building blocks I used in this demo were agentic doc extraction and Streamlit. And I find that one of the most exciting ways the world has changed is when I do work, I think of myself as sometimes building prototypes and sometimes writing and maintaining production or legacy or at-scale software. And depending on what analyst report you trust, maybe writing large-scale production software is like 30 to 50% faster. I don't really know, right? rigorous recent studies are actually hard to come by still. But for building prototypes, this is not a 30-50% improvement. It's like a 10x improvement, maybe even more than 10x improvement in productivity. And I think there are a few reasons for that. Standalone prototypes require less integration. When you're building a prototype, there's lower requirements on reliability, scalability, even security.
Can't show it. Restricted content, apparently. Restricted content. That's how it goes. But ultimately, they're talking about all things machine learning and how Snowflake is one tool. Develop AI products, apps, and more on a fully managed platform that securely connects businesses globally. So obviously, it's including your analytics, AI, data engineering, applications, and collaboration. So I'm exploring Snowflake because I haven't used them before. Haven't used them before, and I'm interested. But obviously, it's all about AI data and that confidence to do that transfer. How do we ensure security levels are high? How do we ensure privacy is high? All that sort of jazz goes alongside all these shiny products that might be flashing up. But when are and how are things safe? How are things secure? It's one of the reasons, just a side note, why I use Framer for my website because it has got um, those credentials. Um, oh, I'll go straight into my left. I didn't want to go there. So we go back to the page. So there's a lot of there's always too much confusion around stuff, and that causes when they say no code, low code, obviously it's still code, right? But it's a system where it's done for you. It's not something you've got to physically write or script yourself. But then if you look behind any developer's desk at the moment, you've got AI helping everybody. So it's just the knowledge and the skill sets then that gives obviously the high advantage and the ability for those teams to help and secure and do and build. So one of my key projects and one of my current projects is how can I centralize in terms of UK presence locally with security. Now these are US, but they do have servers and data storage across the world. I was going to find. I was going to find security. So the reasons. Ooh, that. So the reasons I used Framer, one was the fact that I was absolutely sick of WordPress and the headaches and the hassles I had from my previous experience and the absolute shoddiness of it all, where it was just a template patched together and it didn't even work after 6 months from when I was using an agency. And that experience, I grant it, they had 3, 4 teams working on it. And I grant it, obviously I'm a passionate believer that us as humans need to be looked after and we are key. But if we let ourselves if we build systems that don't do the job to the highest quality, then you ain't building the right system, right? And this is what AI is challenging our humanity a bit, and that's obviously uncomfortable. But yeah, so I was 6 months in, still no website, and I got it with broken links, and it was even linking to a competitor, which I got really, really angry about, quite naturally. And then you've got the WordPress being about 60-70% of all website usage. When it is cheap, you've got a free version, you can domain host it, all that jazz, right? Nothing against it, but it's the actual service around it that I didn't enjoy. But anyway, So I chose a system that built fast, built clean, built simple, so that I can build my Vibe executive coaching business now, where I can sort the website out to the highest standard, so you have a really solid presence. And then we spend more time working on the actual thing that will get you clients, the actual work behind the machine, behind your hell of a difficult life as a business CEO, founder, owner, constantly hit with so many options. So we can actually integrate a lot of things in the back end directly with Framer, like any other platform, and start putting new wave SEO, AEO to work, content writing, and actually getting your site ranked and where you want it to be. But naturally, it's all about conversation AI now. So obviously, the whole change, whole shift. But anyway, I digress. Security, ISO 27. Now, this isn't obviously UK necessarily relevant, but it's a life cycle issue, right? You've got SOC 2, you've got GDPR, which is obviously massive in EU, UK. I was going to find, I think it uses the AWS system. So I use Cloudflare at the moment as a security blanket as I set up, because I just want to make sure that I do things. And I'm obviously on the startup year, right? Affordability is going to be another thing when it comes to the end of that year for me as a sort of micro startup, but that's going to be a great challenge, and that's what I'm applying for. Working hard to map out and build out my plan. Yeah, so you've got all this absolute security. Uptime has been brilliant. I'm going to show you my website. I mean, it's literally, I've never had it so good in terms of standard being up, working. So if I take you to, don't know if this will work. Yeah, no, okay, that won't work. So let's log in here. Project space. So we've gone through security. Security's really high on Framer. Let's ask Perplexity, please confirm and explain why Framer.com is so secure and its uptime is so good. I might conjecture against it. One thing with AI I've noticed is you've got to, like, if you tell it, like, say you say, I love Bruce Springsteen, tell me about his latest album, right? It's going to be not impartial or partial. It's going to follow your lead. It's going to say, oh, Bruce Springsteen, the world's greatest. Da, 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 da. You say, look at my website, it's the best website ever. Give me some negatives. You started with a positive and you ended with negative. It's not going to, you need to ask it, give me a balanced view on, be specific on, because AI is not going to give you every single answer. Humans are still needed. That is massively important in these cycles of research because, you know, you just need to think. You know, AI is going to be, and it is, an amazing tool, but it's a tool of ultimate possibility. But ultimately, we have to sort of stop, think, and act. I've called my business "Stop, Think, and Act," right, in the middle of it to sort of to help with this stuff. Right. So Framer is built with React, a modern web technology, rather than older server-side languages like PHP. This reduces exposure to common web vulnerabilities and avoids the risks posed by third-party plugins. So there is one, such as WordPress. So this is what it said. Now, can I add? Pretty sure I can. Bear with me. This is all the first one I've done, so I want to do stuff like this, but it's like, you know, self add source. Cool. There we go. Our favorite friend, perplexity. So let's put perplexity in there. So we double check it against it. So yeah, so Framer is a modern architecture built with, I've said that. All Framer websites and data are hosted on AWS, right? So AWS is under there, out the box, in the system for anybody who has one of my systems, which is built on Framer, right? So the Framer is the architecture in the center for your main website. Now, whether you build an app or need a login scenario, it can be done within Framer. But React is the same stuff that you'll find in Lovable. So Lovable is obviously the other one. You've got Bolt, you've got others popping up all over the place. The beauty of something like a Framer build is that it's got this architecture, security, um, TLS, network segmentation, isolating production, development, and environments using AWS accounts, VPCs, security groups, services not intended for the public, continuous monitoring, detection, compliance, DDoS, attack mitigation. So yeah, I've had all that stuff from start of day one. Really, really, I've never had such joy with my website, right? And we all know it's just a website, but at the end of the day, we get passionate as business owners to have a really cracking image and a really cracking, you know, and why wouldn't you want that? I mean, you need that in business. So, um, dilly do, dilly dum. So what can you do? So in the website builder, which is this one live, ultimately we can get something like this done really super stylish, but also really up to date with the latest trends, right? So that's fine. We can find templates like any other builder has. If you went to WordPress, if you went to Squarespace, Wix, any others, you pick your template of love, you fancy, and then you work it around the edges, right? But for you as a business, it could be more important to be up and running with a website live and singing and adding an AI agent to it that can talk to your customers and clients. Because as soon as you've got that up to date, you're able to attract the right people, you're able to promote it, sell it on Google, advertise it, etc., etc. The most important thing is that every sector is different, right? So if you're running an e-commerce shop, it's very different if you're running a service business. So that's the key to differentials, but there's lots of micro differentials in what kind of business you're approaching, what kind of target audience you're approaching, this sort of stuff. And it gets super confusing. And I was there and I spent hours and hours myself getting my previous business's website shipshape and centered. And I think I've learned a lot from that. I think so. We get a decent presence, we get it up as fast as we can, but then we work on it over that 3 month, 90-day growth plan is what I'm selling as a business. And then we make sure that we work that into your market. Pretty simple. And then if there's a chat bot, if there's latest SEO tools behind the mask as well. So let me just show. So I haven't got this at the moment because I'm waiting on a few things to fall into place. But you've got a load of plugins, right? An SEO bot is a plugin. It's cancelled because I've already got one. It's one I've been using a lot, trialing it. Oh, that's not the right one. So it can be a fully autonomous SEO system built in that actually affects your traffic and actually starts helping against some of these latest trends. Content is still key, right? So behind the website, still gets read by Google, still gets read, and naturally, obviously, now being searched by ChatGPT, and that's where the differentials need to be plugged together. So let's ask this question together. What is the best way to get my Framer website ranked in SEO or AEO? Let's include all the current reductions or drop-offs in traffic that, let's stick to the UK businesses are reporting, and present the best fix. And if it was your business, I mean, if it was, I'd say make this specific for a business. Let's do mine just to give you an example. Executive coach seeking to work in the sectors of coaches, consultants, and mixed media. Let's just say those three for now. I'm looking at construction, estate agents, people like that, maybe even mortgage brokers, sectors like that that are quite willing to and ready to need good systems to build their businesses around. But anyway, so we're saying now I've used the search one here. I could have used the deeper research method, but let's just run this one first. Oh, you can't see it, can you? Sorry. So we've asked, just to reiterate, we've asked what is the best way to get my framework website ranked in SEO or AEO? Let's include all the current reductions or drop-offs in traffic that UK businesses are reporting and present the best fix. Make this specific for business executive coach, me, working in sectors, but so it's saying it's a combination of technical best practices with content, strategy, adapted for the UK digital landscape. So AI overviews and zero-click searches. Over half of searches now end with a user clicking through to any website. Users get answers directly in Google's AI overviews and other search engine answer boxes. This has caused up to 35% in click-through rate drop in click-through rates. So that's where the reductions come. Decision makers often using AI platforms for research expect concise, authoritative answers, not just long-form content. Here, Abe. You've just been out for a walk, Lovey. What do you need? I know. Mum's going to pick her up soon. What do you need, Lovey? Go and lie down. I know. I might have to take her for a quick wee. Bear with. What do you need? Huh? Is it raining or something? Nope. What do you need? She needs to go out for a wee. Okay. Bear with. Sorry about that. If anyone's there, I don't know if no one's even there. Shout out if anyone's in there. Somebody say something. I don't know, is it at the moment? Oh well. We're recording. Turn this one off. Okay, what is this weird thing? It's really annoying. I really want to be. There we go. Okay. Right. Ah, what am I doing? There we go. Turn that off. Right. So, what are we seeing? We are seeing. Yeah. Right. So, best fix. Build direct answer content. Structure your site to provide clear, concise answers to common questions. What is executive coaching? How can consulting help creative professionals? And I, at the moment, have been working on a few different examples of that. I think the best way to talk to your customers and talk to your clients and people out there is by what I'm doing, right? But not everybody wants to jump on a video and talk about it, but you'll see that's why TikTok's so highly traffic driven, because people like authentic, just want to see stuff and have, understand it before, especially before investing or buying. Like that too. Which is absolutely fine. I think it's very important. But on the website, you can ask clear questions in a few different ways. Obviously, we can get creative with it. Depends on your business industry. Using headlines, short paragraphs, then pillar content, authority signals. Create comprehensive authoritative guides for each sector you target. Cool. I'm working on those. I've got a couple of PDFs I've been building, and Notion templates. Use case studies and testimonials. Real-world proof is critical for the EEAT framework, which is clearly the synonym they've given it, abbreviations. Focus on high-intent commercial keywords. Include video, audio, downloadable resources, add interactive tools, rich media, monitor traffic, local entity, GMB. Yeah. If we jump into mine as an example, this isn't actually what you guys see. I see this weird image here, but you'll see different images. But anyway, I've been working hard to do these updates as regularly as I can. I think, bearing in mind, I've been in a certain situation in my life where I've been pivoting and turning around. I'm pretty proud of what we've done so far. Oh, Google. It was associated. Oh, no, that's not it. So we had, this is the other one I had the other day. So let's reduce. So we've got some Traffic insights, yeah. This is in your Google um, system seat called analytics, and naturally it gives you the accurate breakdowns of where everything kind of traffic comes from, etc., etc. Let's go back to this. We've got then some key major takeaways, right? So don't chase traffic alone. With most traffic leaking to AI answers, prioritize being the source AI and search engines cited or recommend. Super useful tip. Don't chase traffic alone. And this is why when I say I call it my three-pronged SEO attack. It's real world, it's unique, modern, and then it's traditional. Real world, what can you do? Traffic, what can you do physically? As Daniel Priestley says, go to a speaking event, go to a local event and be in front of 200 people. Those are high intent people. If you're in front of high intent people interested in you as a person, as a business, you're going to get a far higher percentage chance of letting them understand what you do as a business and how you can act. So just to reiterate, my first part of and I put it in SEO because it's how people search and find you. But I appreciate obviously it's not technically right, but it is one of the key pillars is real world to try and reduce the cost on the other. Right, that's my goal. Second is obviously new world SEO tactics, trends, SEO. So I installed and am testing several systems. So this is a new world example of SEO, and these are built in to some of my packages, right? So it's thinking outside the box for the business to gain the best interest and the best outcomes. The tool alone is never going to do it, but from my business perspective, it's how can I help and really engage change for my business and clients, and that each case is specific. Um, so yeah, three prong, and then third prong is traditional. So what do I use for traditional? A partner. I say, you know, what is going to be the best thing for my client? And traditional SEO experts have 20 years of back history, and I appreciate that. I appreciate um, others and their skill sets. And I've found a system which allows me to effectively build each business's SEO alongside experts. What does that do? Is it reduces your friction costs as a business owner, and you know that I've got your best interest at heart. So working with me, we stop, we think, we plan, and then we act. So we've got a system in place that we know is going to have some legs and longer term cost saving. I heard some um, semantics about spending X amount per month on several systems and tools, whereas with a system like mine, you'd have it all in one place and you'd have the cost reduced within that one monthly. Because obviously we can use systems, install them your side so you have visibility, um, but there we go. So yeah, it's been working to research all of this over the last sort of 12 months really, and over 5 years I've been working on my old website, WordPress, etc., etc. And as I say, so I've pivoted to Frame a website builder, which gives me the ability to build fast, build clean, build secure with AWS backdrop. And then it's lower management need from your side. All of the management costs potentially that you're spending could be reduced. Every business is different, right? And every founder is different as well. I mean, everybody has their own unique way of doing things. I was going to say plans. And built into any specific cause. And my cause of reaction would be talking to the leader. I say, okay, there's an annual version which is slightly cheaper. We could save you some money. Can I find a code? Can I find you discounts? Can I drill to find savings for you? Can I negotiate for you as a business to make sure you've got the best deal? These are the things you get when you spend a little bit more time trying to figure out the right answer. And then you've got a management system with your domain and your hosting all in one. So we've gone through a fair bit about how my brain works, but good old Perplexity's helped us structure it. We're looking at reminding us what's the best way to get my Framer website ranked in SEO or AEO. Let's include all the current reductions and drop-offs in traffic that we're all seeing in the UK and present best fixes, make sure they're specific for your said niche, your said business. And I'd tweak that further if I'm honest. I'd tweak that further and I would plan it out with the full research tool and then effectively I have Notion, so each business gets a Notion dashboard for that. Simplify it because this is a load of fucking words, isn't it? A load of too much for a business owner. Because you're working hard to build business. So all you need to know is you've got a nice website with a good facility up on the front end. Your customers and clients can find you. This one I've worked with now has the ability to build in phone system. So I've just built my own version of this. So let's just reduce this. So this is what I'm installing in all my websites now, subject to business owner leaders' opinion and preference. That matters to me, and it should matter to anyone you work with. But it's a struggle to find that sometimes. I'll go back to that whole adage. Is my view is that no one person knows everything, and no one business knows everything. And the more you build yourself into a position of having to be one way or no way, it's harder to pivot and change. I think that's what a lot of agencies have followed and faced. They've faced after doing all this one way and it's worked, but now it's suddenly pivoted and changed. But we weren't listening to the business. We weren't listening to leaders, founders, owners who were researching all this stuff and know and see it ahead of others. Because it's your money, it's your business, it's your bread and butter on the table. Maybe your staff, you've got a massive responsibility, and that responsibility sometimes isn't matched by this sort of the planning and the depth of thought that goes into building a online system that just then works, yeah, and then it's looked after. So this is the chat system I'm using at the moment, and we can, build in phone numbers to it. At the moment, it's Twilio Vonage, UK-based Twilio is fine. So I will be trialing that soon, so that customer can come in here and actually call you from your site. Let's be honest, a simple fill out form is the most common response. Simple fill out form. So this is where my website has it. Simple, get in touch. There's my name. There's my email. You know, people and business owners don't have time. Often it's all about time, isn't it? How can we buy back customers' time? How can we buy back your time as a leader? But I know, appreciate, and understand that is the case. And which why it goes back to the point within 3 months, a 90-day plan, we set up, we give you guys let's go the option. If you don't need a website, you've got a system already, you don't need a website, and then that should be sort of reiterated. We can then build around the current website, not too affected. But the problem is with that is you'll find that you've got sort of historical problems that go on and on and on. Some generally, and I'll be honest, generally my 90-day growth plans, I stick to building fresh, building out the box solutions that replace your current system. And then it's something worked on, perfected, and done. Right. So over the last period of time, I've been working on some templates and working with some solutions that should match we can easily tap into for many types of businesses. And that means that it speeds up the journey to get the sites ready. And if you know that any website builder or agency, often lots of them give you templates to choose from, and that's exactly that's the right way of approaching it. If the business owner wants that, and obviously sometimes you just might say, look, just trust or want me to do it. That's cool. If obviously we'll present the right template at the time of need in the process, and then just build on the architecture to work it. So we're getting quite deep into this now, which is quite cool. What was I going to do? So I was going to talk about the plans, and I was going to talk about automation, how it knits together. Right, so obviously with a chatbot, a simple chatbot, that is a version of automation. It's already done. These ones now use Claude, ChatGPT built in. So that's an out-of-box solution, done and dusted, that we build and install for a website. Quite simple, job done, happy days. If you've got the need or want to, these automation systems will then just cost extra, right? But they are longer lasting and add different automations to your process as a business. So you can assure a payroll solution, a HR solution. You can scrape websites and get a much more cleaner way of presenting your quotes to clients. So you can reduce 1,000 leads potential to 100 in the end that you end up paying to actually outreach for. So you're reducing by checking, or AI is reducing the backwork of checking and giving you a cleaner pipe to outreach to. Productivity, IT, finance. So with financial automations, business can focus on strategic financial planning while automating common tasks. Financial automation uses predefined rules and workflows to process transactions, ensure compliance, and maintain accurate financial records. One thing I wanted to mention, and this is where I was checking initially, security on Make, okay, and they are very, very good. We prioritize robust security measures. I think that's the other concern, especially British owners are like, well, where's the security gone? How does it actually cope with the vulnerabilities, the option, and where does that leave me as a business? Well, these guys have nailed it. It's cloud-based, not local server-based, like N8N could be. So if you really wanted local server solution, it costs a bit more, but we build one of these babies. If you want it on your server in your office, in your head office, that is jolly good. And I have got and found one or two partners to help me. This you can build an automation and get it working within a week or two. You have to test it. It's the testing and the clarity of getting it right, which is the bit that's important. So that's the most important bit of all of this stuff. It's how do we make it work and make sure it sings around your online presence so you've got more time and you can get your gear up to make more profit ultimately. Save time, make more money, get more clients on board. Now, this is where automation for me has its limits. I do believe in the general nature of branding and the ability to look, feel, sound, a professional touch, fit, and that is all to do with style as much as it is all the clever data stuff that you can put around the edges. It is about, so let me go to Framer here. It is about presenting your energy, your business energy, into a really cool site, something that's going to stand out to your customers. Let's go to Framers Marketplace. It's taking me to my. Let's go here. Right. So which might be you might be wanting an agency website, community website, a business website, a stylistic one. They give us sort of sensible boxes like all platforms do. Like WordPress have done it for 20 all the years under the sun. We've all seen many template solutions. Ultimately, every web developer designer uses a template to then build out what around and then breaks it apart, builds it back up. So depending on the complexity of the site and the business, depends on the need. And making sure it stands out for your customers and clients would actually benefit you as a business. So here's one example. How beautiful is that? It's got refined glass morphic box templates, instant trust signal, trust partner. We need to work on the images, the content, and setting this up. You know, that's a really good example and a clear call to action. Job done. Social connections, nice. Got another example. Crypto trading platform. Modern, image led. A lot of this has to be redone per business. Graphics or design elements, which is all part of the beast. You've got more fun versions, you know, and elements in these we change. So if there's a specific type, so we go back here to dashboard. So obviously every new project starts a blank canvas. Every project can be imported from Figma. So the team I'm using and have already used Figma to map out some of the more complexities, and I double check it with them. You've got your three. So there's elements of stuff we do around the edges to carve out the proper look, feel, and style for each business. But going back to my point, it's that getting it up, working, running, getting it live, getting a chatbot finished on it, having something which is representing your needs as a business and what your client's seeking, be up to date, more modern in the style and the type of website you're using, not one of the old. Everyone can see it ultimately. I've seen so many websites which do just look tired. They just look tired, and people are wondering why. No matter what you, yes, if you're getting success via other methods and platforms, brilliant. You know, the website isn't that important in that regard. And sometimes it's not important at all in some instances. I meet some business, they just don't need or want one. But the ultimate truth is it's a trust building exercise. Google search, people looking for trust will look for your main point of contact, right? So you see your review bases are important, where you get your reviews, Trustpilot, Google, you know, there's so many website review systems now, but you know the ones that people look at for your industry. Trustpilot, yeah. So that's in a nutshell where we sit. Now, I start with a free meeting with each business leader. We give you an instant, just have a chat and look at what exactly it is you need, and the needs come first. So, and then we map out a 90-day plan. They start at 2.5, and we include what is needed for you and your business. We don't mess about, and it goes up in retrospect. And then there's a monthly retainer to manage it, or if you've got an in-house team who manage it and want me to work with them to set it up, fine. So hopefully that helps. Is this guy still going? Let's listen in.
Okay. And then, okay, so now let's process the images. So in our data set, we have PDF documents and images. Now, images are also going to be useful for making our tools even more intelligent, if you will. So what we're doing is we're into our docs chunks table, we're using another Snowflake Cortex complete function called complete, which is a multimodal function, and we're asking it, in this case, using Claude 3.5 Sonnet, asking it to describe these images, okay? And you'll see where it's going to come in even more handy, right? So now, after you run this, let's see what that looks like. So every image has a chunk associated with it and also has the category. But the description is going to come in handy again later. Okay. So now we're going to actually create the Cortex search service based on all the processing we've done for our unstructured data, which in our case are PDF files and images. Okay. If I go ahead and click this, it's going to create a Cortex search service using create or replace Cortex search service, and this is the name of the service. This is the warehouse. When you create a trial account, this warehouse is automatically created for you, so you don't have to worry. The embedding model, two different embedding models that you can use. These are outlined in our documentation, but in this case, we're using something that Snowflake has built and open sourced. So that's great. All right. I'll wait here for 30 more seconds so people can catch up. Also, let me know if there's any specific errors people are running into. A lot of times, folks, some of the errors that you are seeing could also be because you may not have picked the right region when you created the account. So again, this step is really important. Please make sure the accounts are in this region. Some of the things that we're using are not available yet in every single region, okay? So just something to keep in mind. Okay. All right. So before I hand it to Arun, what we're going to do is we're going to create some tables and load some data. Okay, that's all we're going to do right now, and then I'll pass it on to Arun to talk about the second tool that we're going to build for our agent. Okay. All right. So if you scroll down, there's three tables we're going to create: dimension article, dimension customer, and dimension fax sales. Okay, so these are pretty simple cells to run. So please go ahead and run these. We have 8 records in this one. We have about how many? 5,000 records in that one. And let's see, how many records do we have in here? About 80,000 records in this table. These are structured, obviously structured data sets. We've generated, created 3 tables, inserted some rows, and then we can build a semantic model on top of these tables. So this is a good spot for me to hand it to Arun. It'll also give others to catch up, but then we're going to come back to this after he explains, what this Cortex analyst and semantic models are all about, right? So Arun, I'm going to stop sharing.
Absolutely. Give it up for Dash. Thank you, Dash. Okay, awesome. So we talked about unstructured data. We talked about Cortex search. Now let's see how we can analyze structured data in Snowflake. So at a high level, this is where we'll be using another tool called Cortex Analyst. I had previously mentioned that Cortex Analyst is extremely accurate. It has 90+% accuracy. So the main reason Cortex Analyst is so accurate is because we use something known as semantic model. And essentially think of it as something that understands your business terms, and the business terms are mapped to the underlying data. So for example, if I say Q1 or quarter one, it understands that my quarter starts in February of each year and is February, March, and April. A different company can have a first quarter starting in January. So those types of business nuances is understood by semantic model, which makes the structured data analytics really accurate. So in the past, we would have to spend a couple of weeks creating semantic models. But one of the latest exciting announcements that we had this month is now we have this thing called automatic semantic model generator. It's in private preview right now. And what it does is it makes Cortex Analyst semantic model generation easy and fast. So it can analyze your schema and metadata. It can look at your query history. It can look at your dashboards. And all of that is used to then create the semantic model, which can eliminate weeks of manual work. In addition to that, we also have this thing called charts capability, which is in public preview. So now you can look at your data visually so that you can quickly get and glean insights from this. So these are some of the tools that we are building, and Codex Analyst is used as a tool by the agentic solution. So to put it all together, let's bring Dash back to continue with our hands-on lab. Over to you, Dash.
Right, folks. So hopefully people have caught up until this step, created all the tables, loaded the data. So semantic model has already been provided, right? So what this cell is going to do when I run it, what it's going to do is just pull that and then copy it into your case that was created earlier. So there should be two semantic model files that we're going to copy over from the Git repo. Okay. Okay. So we have these two files, and
for a walk, haven't we?
something that Arun I think mentioned already. This is a great feature of Cortex Analyst where you can improve the quality of the insights that it might give by adding or supplementing it with a Cortex search service. Okay, we're going to see this in action in a little bit, but for now, let's just go ahead and create another search service. So this is a very specific search service we're creating for our article names. And we'll see how this comes in handy in just a minute, okay? Let me move on to the next step. But what we're doing here is creating a search service so that you don't have to rely on sample values when you're looking for certain insights based on article names. So all we're doing here is creating another Cortex search service, just like before, but this one is very specific. So if you're following along, or if you want to follow along later on, so this is step 4. So we've just completed step 4, basically running every cell in the Snowflake notebook. Okay. Now the next step is we're going to look at the semantic model that we just imported into your account. So that is step 5. Okay, again, the semantic model is already provided. I'm going to show you how to access the semantic model and how you can test it. Okay. Again, if you're falling behind, please follow this quick start guide, and it has all the details, even more than what I'm, kind of speaking right now. Step by step, like click here, click there, it's all there. Okay. So let's go back to your Snowflake account. Okay. You don't already have this open, so you go ahead and if you're ready to, you can end this session. It's totally fine. When you come back, you can restart the session. So it's not a big deal if you end the session now. Okay. End session. On the left-hand side, you will see there's under AI ML Studio. Okay, there's a Cortex Analyst option right here. Second column, second row. Click on Try. And then here again, we're going to pick the database, which is this one here, Cortex Agent Summit, public schema. And then we'll select semantic files where a semantic model file is. And then we'll click on this first YAML file. Okay. There we go. Let me collapse this. All right. Here's a semantic model file. It's a YAML file. I'll show you how to access that. Basically, if you click on this top YAML button, you'll see what the file looks like. So here's the description. Okay. Here are the tables. So if you recall, these are the tables we just created in the Snowflake notebook. And they belong to this database and the schema. This is the name of the actual table, right? Here are the dimensions, basically article name. There are some sample values provided, description, synonyms. So depending on your use case and how the team is structured within your company or organization, a lot of different folks may be using different ways to ask the same question. That's why we have a way of providing synonyms for referring to the same column, if you will. Okay. So similarly, you can provide all the information about other dimensions and columns that you have. Now, obviously the question is, how do you handwrite all of this? But you don't have to handwrite any of this. You can use the same UI to create a model, a semantic model from scratch. So you don't actually have to hand type all of this stuff, which is great. And then in the UI view, you will see that these are kind of separated and listed out in a more user-friendly manner. So here's our dimension article, which is the table. These are the 4 dimensions. We just looked at article name and what have you. Okay, so that's a semantic model. Now, let's go ahead and test it. Okay, so if you go back to step 5, okay, there's a section called test the semantic model right here on step 5. Here, let's go ahead and copy this question. Okay, in the UI and click on run. It's a great way to test what you've built before you use it in other parts of the platform. In this case, the agent that we're going to build and look at later. Okay, so now it's analyzing. It's not only running the SQL for you, but it's also actually showing you what SQL is going to run. It runs it, and here's the result. It's pretty amazing, right? You don't have to write the SQL to get this answer. It's pretty awesome. Now let's go ahead and ask the second question. Everyone, check the pulse, okay? I can slow down.
Maybe slow down just a tad bit, if you can, Dash.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Huh? Yeah, I can hear you. I'll slow down. I'm just running the questions from the quick source to show how you can test the semantic model. And I'll wait here for 30 seconds or so. Anything you want to add here while we wait, Arun? Anything about semantic models that I may have missed?
No, I think you covered it. Most important thing is that business context is critical, and we're not using any data to train the models, etc. We're simply building the semantic model to give that extra layer of intelligence to your enterprise data.
Right. And it's pretty neat, like asking this question, right? It's a simple question, but if you look at the query that you might have to write, or someone had to write, is pretty elaborate. Obviously, there's a lot of SQL experts that can write these and more complex queries, but just a great way to get the insights without having to write out the entire SQL. Again, let me just go back here. So as a reminder, if you're falling behind, please follow the quick start. It has every single instruction in here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, if you recall, we created a second search service in our notebook for the article name. So that's what we're going to try. How to use that, how to augment our semantic model with the search service so you can provide even more insights or better insights, if you will. Okay. So for that, let's go ahead and first ask this question. Okay, let's go ahead and ask, what are the total sales for the carvers? Now, if you're a skier, you'll know that it's a type of ski and also a type of, a way of skiing. Carving is a type of skiing. Okay, carvers are a type of skis. So let's go ahead and ask this question without doing anything else. Okay, and let's see what it comes back with. All right, so most of you might, hopefully all of you who will see that it's not able to answer the question. It's saying, I apologize, edit clarification, blah, blah, blah. Well, the good thing is it's not hallucinating. It's not just giving you some random answer, right? It's actually saying that I don't know the answer, right? Now, let's see how we can use the search service that we created to make sure that our semantic model understands these types of questions. So for that, what we're going to do is click on article name. There's an edit button next to it. So I'm going to click on edit. If you scroll down, there are sample values provided. Now, the reason why Cortex are the semantic model is not able to provide this answers because the carver is not one of the sample values, right? But then the natural question is, like, what if you have thousands of values, and like, how would you have all of those provided as values? Well, it's a great question. That's where you can augment this using a search service. So all you have to do is, let's say we don't remove these, okay? You don't have to remove them, but you can. And we're going to click on search service. Again, we'll select the database and schema, and we'll select the article name search service. Connect. Now there's two important things here. You have to click on save, and you also have to save the semantic model. Okay, so it's saved successfully, right? I'm going to go ahead and ask the exact same question again without doing anything else. See what happens. I'm going to wait here for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, so folks can catch up. There you go. Exact same question, no other changes to the model except we added the search service we created earlier to augment our semantic model. And asking the exact same question, now we have the answer. What do you think, Aaron?
Incredible. Looks like most people are catching up. So yeah.
Amazing, right? Yeah, I'll wait here before moving on to the next step. So the next step, we're going to put all these things together in an application. So we've created a semantic model. So that's Cortex Analyst part. That's one tool. And then the first tool we created was Cortex Search Service on our PDFs and images, right? So we have two tools, Cortex Search Service and Cortex Analyst. We have semantic model. Now we're going to use Cortex Agents API, bundle everything together in a Streamlit application. That's what the next step is. So let me just go ahead and pop this open again. So just as a reminder, this is the step where we are at right now, step 5. What we've done is we've opened our semantic model via AI ML Studio, Cortex Analyst option. And then we selected the semantic model by first selecting the database here, which is this one, public schema. Semantic files is the stage, and semantic.yaml is the actual file. And then for testing, we asked these questions first. We got the answers, and then we tried asking question that it did not know about, which is what our total says for the carvers. And what we did after is added the Cortex search service that we created for article names. And when we asked the same question, it was able to give us the answer. So that's where we're at right now. Okay. So the next step is we're going to put everything together like I mentioned before. Again, the Streamlit application is already provided. So what we're going to do is load it from the repository, okay, just like the notebook and the semantic model. So for that, again, if you're falling behind, let me repeat, we're on step 6. So you can always just look back and see what the exact instructions are in case you're falling behind. So in this case, we're going to, on the left-hand side, we'll projects, Streamlit app, create from repository, okay? So that's what I'm going to demonstrate now. All right, so let me expand. Under projects, we're going to select Streamlit. On the top right, you click on this drop down, you'll see create from repository. Again, I'm going to say best app ever. I'm going to select main file, which is again in our database and schema. So this database, this repository, and this is the file. Okay, so I'll wait here for a few seconds so people can catch up. 15 hours ago. So you can see that I have updated this as of last night. Okay, so once you click on this, select File. And now let's just select our same database and schema. That's where it's going to be created. But you will see this is the most important thing, right? The Streamlit app has been pulled in from the grid repo in your account. And then click on Create. For those that are familiar with Streamlit, it's basically a Python framework that allows you to create interactive applications without knowing HTML and CSS. And it's built right into Snowflake, so you don't have to worry about hosting it and things like that. And how's the pulse, Arun?
Looking good. Let's keep going.
Okay. Okay. So check this out. At the bottom, you'll see that there's 3 icons, right? You can click on those to see just the app or just the code, or you can also see both. It's pretty cool. Okay. You can also move this divider in the middle to see one or the other more, depending on what you're trying to do. But basically, it's kind of cool, very flexible. You'll see that the code is all Python code. There's some SQL in here, but mostly Python. We've imported some libraries up here based on Streamlit, Snowpark Python, and stuff like that. And we have just normal Python code. So let's see, number of lines, 226, and that includes line breaks, comments, what have you. But just like that, we're using Cortex agent in this agentic application. Now, let's see how or what we can do with this app. Okay, so let's go back here, right? So assuming that you have the Streamlit application open, again, if you're following behind, we're in step 6. Okay, that's how I have my application open. All the detailed instructions are here. Okay, now we're in step 7, so we're ready to ask some questions. So let's start with unstructured data. So let's copy one of these questions. Okay, both should work. Try either one. So all I'm doing is copying this and then going back to our application and ask the question. Now imagine building something like this for your business users, right? They don't know SQL. First of all, they don't know what kind of data is being used underneath. Their main objective is to get insights, right, by asking these types of questions. So here you'll see I've asked the first question, and then here's my answer. It's pretty amazing, yeah? And you can click on these boxes to see the additional information, like citations and where did it get the information, for example. Okay, now, I do want to highlight that this is custom code. So this component is basically part of Streamlit framework, right? And you can design this app the way you want, right? It's all custom code. Okay, now let's go ahead and ask the second question. Okay, what's the length of the Carver's keys? Something like that. Let's see what happens. How's the pulse? People are excited about this application or what?
Yeah, I see a lot of excitement here.
Right? That's amazing. Let's check this out. Skis are in 2 lengths, 150 centimeter and 155, right? And if you click on this, you get additional information. Where did it get all this, or the answer, right? The summary. Pretty amazing. This is the doc, right? This is where it got the answer. Pretty cool. Now, let's move on to this one right here and see what happens. So now we're asking, are there any brand names in the frame of the bike, right? Now imagine asking this without having any information about images or being able to process images on the same platform, right? It can be pretty tricky, but you'll see that in here, The question is, are there any brands we want to know in images in the same application? And you'll see the answer. It'll provide in a second here, but I've also added a screenshot, right? While we wait, you can actually look at the screenshot, and this is what the answer should be. So let's go back. Cool, I did not get the answer. Okay, so I would love to know if there's anybody in the audience that is actually seeing this or not. I'm going to try it one more time. Everyone, can you check?
Yeah, no responses yet.
Okay.
So folks, let us know in the chat. It worked for some folks. It didn't work for some others. Dash.
Do you want to talk about LLM's non-deterministic aspect? Anyway, so here it is, right? It's actually showing us the image where there's a brand name called Santa Cruz. Pretty cool. What do you think, Arun?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of folks are seeing it now. So
That's good.
it's amazing.
Now, the next question I'm asking is structured query. So again, we're on step 7. And if you scroll down, there's a section called structured data. So that's where I'm asking a question: how many carvers are we selling per year in the North region? Okay. It's processing the request. It's going through. So Cortex agents, the REST API, it's pretty smart in that it will route the request automatically depending on where the answer might be. Because remember, you can actually, we're going to look at the code here in a second. But you'll see the answer here. And then if you look at the SQL, it's pretty long, complex. But then here's the answer, right? Now, let's see, are there more questions? But what I want to show you next is, like, how is it all being orchestrated using Cortex agents or agents APIs? Oh, I'm going to go ahead and let this run. And then I'm just going to talk about the code. So close preview or let it run on the side. Okay, here's the answer to my last question. Now, what is Cortex agents? Obviously, there's a concept of Cortex agents, but if you're coding, if you're actually building an application, it's in a REST API. So the endpoint is this one right here. Just like any other REST endpoint, you can invoke this from Streamlit app or any other application that you would want to integrate this with. So in this case, obviously, it's a Streamlit app. So let's look at what the payload looks like. So here's the payload for the API. So first parameter is the model. For now, we're using Claude 3.5 Sonnet. There are other models that you can use also. Depends on the region and what have you. But here's the most important part of the payload. So these are the tools that we just built earlier in this session, right? We built an analyst using the semantic model. And we also built a Cortex search service using documents and images. So you provide one or more tools via these tools, and then each of these they correspond to resources. So sales analyst, what are the details about that? Right. So details are here's the semantic model file, which is this one we looked at earlier. Okay. And what about the Cortex search part? So this corresponds with this one right here. And then name, how many results to return, what the title column is, ID, things like that, right? So you can imagine if you have multiple semantic models, you have multiple Cortex search services, all of that can be packaged together and used with the same Cortex agent via the API. Other than that, it's very straightforward. Like, it's a post, here's the endpoint, here's the payload that we just looked at, and then obviously there's a timeout option. The rest of the code is just parsing the data that comes back. That's it. Now, because this is a REST API, You can integrate this with Slack, even Zoom. I have quick start guides for all of these. So if I go back to the quick start guide, okay, on the last step, conclusion and resources, there are links to all the resources that we just referred to. So this is our GitHub repo, all the things that we use today. Here's the notebook file, here's the semantic model, all that's in here. Here are the other quick start guides. Cortex agents and Slack, right? Again, let me go back and show you. If you're falling behind, and if you lose this URL, don't worry. The only thing you need to remember is this one right here. quickstarts.smowflake.com. Okay. If you type in Slack, for example, right? Here's the Slack quick start that I just showed you guys. What about Zoom? Here you go. Zoom. And it has step-by-step instructions just like the current lab that we just walked through. There's ways to load data, how to set up Zoom, all of that. So let me show you, Arun, how are we doing? I'd love to show the Slack demo using the same
Yeah, I
Cortex
think we have enough
agent.
time. Definitely.
Yeah?
Let's go for it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so what I'm going to show now is Slack integration. So let me pull up the quick start guide again. It's this one. Okay. Here. All right, so let me show you the code first. Before I actually show the demo, let me just show the integration pieces. Just like we saw in the Streamlit app running inside Snowflake, I have an agent endpoint. This is my account, and this is the URL that we are using in the Streamlit app also, right? Semantic model, and then I have a search service. It's a different demo, so search service is different, so is the semantic model. But other than that, if you look at the code, I'm invoking the API in the same manner. It's a post. Here are the headers. For headers, for authenticating, this is really important. So you can only access or you can only get insights from data that you have access to, right? Everything is controlled via RBAC on the Snowflake side of things. So when you create a Java Web Token, that's for a user, right? So whatever user you're using, that user can only see data that they have access to. So here you can use either a Java Web Token or a personal access token that we just announced. Anyway, so other than that, this is the exact same like we saw before in the Streamlit app. There's tools, a couple of tools here, search, analyst, and then here are the tool resources for each tool, right? And then the rest of the code, I'm just trying to parse the response that comes back and then display it. And then here's the main application where I'm using Slack APIs to do everything else, asking, responding, stuff like that. All right. So now I'm ready to share my Slack screen. So first, let me start the application. So Slack bot. So all I'm doing is I'm starting this application. Now the app's running. Now I can start asking questions in Slack. I'll share my Slack in just a second here. Now here, it's a different data set, so I'm going to go ahead and ask this question, okay? Show me a breakdown of customer support tickets by service type cellular versus business. And boom, there's the answer, including a chart. What was that? Let's ask a different question, right? How many unique customers have raised a support ticket with a cellular service type and have email as their contact preference? And here we'll see another answer come up. There you go. Now let's ask a unstructured data question, okay? What are the payment terms for snow tires? again, the response that's going to be displayed here is coming from PDFs. Okay, just like we did in our Streamlit app, it's using Cortex Search to respond to these types of unstructured data-related queries. So here's the answer. Here's the summary, and then also the citation. What do you think, Arun?
Pretty incredible.
Here's another question. Boom. How cool is
Now
that?
that we see it all put together, all the
Yeah.
pieces make sense, you know?
Yeah.
So it's pretty
Right.
exciting.
Yeah. So I have very similar quick starts for, like I mentioned, Zoom and Microsoft Teams. They work exact same. Here's the cool part, okay? So let me open, this is cool. I love this part. So if you look at this part, for all three, be exact same. So set up Snowflake for Zoom, for Microsoft Teams, Slack, exact same. There's no difference. The only changes are based on what interface you're using, right? That's it. Other than that, it's a REST API, same Cortex Analyst tools, same Cortex Search tools. Then you can create these amazing integrations. I would love to also show Snowflake Intelligence, but do you want to talk about it first, Arun?
Yeah, maybe we just talk about the overall agents. There were some questions on the different pieces.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
we walk through that quickly. Awesome. So there were some questions about the different pieces for Cortex agents. So let's quickly walk through them. So the way we think about agents is in 5 different pieces. The first one is around orchestration module, which you see here on the right-hand side. So the planning or orchestration is what allows you to break down the query into subtasks, which are known as multi-hop. So let's say if we take an example, let's say the question is, who was the sales lead when we last renewed our contract with, I don't know, McDonald's? So this query needs to be broken down into 2 parts, right? When did we renew the contract with McDonald's? And then who was the sales lead at that time? So the agent can do those types of things in the orchestration module. The next module is on the left-hand side, which is the tool use. We went through Cortex Search, Cortex Analyst for unstructured and structured data. There are other tools we are continuing to build, web search and all of that. Then the third piece is this reflection piece, which makes agents so powerful. So we know that developers care about consistent user experience, especially with enterprise-grade applications, right? So we have enhanced our reflection engine so that you can get faster, more accurate results. And then the last 2 pieces is around memory, so that the agents can remember the context as the user is interacting with the agent. And then at the bottom, you see this horizontal piece, which is the monitoring component, which you can use to iterate and improve the agent over its life cycle. And then throughout this agentic architecture, we want to keep 3 principles in mind. As a reminder: accuracy, trust and security, and then governed data access. This is what makes these agents enterprise ready. So what we feel is we are already in the agentic era, and the future is multi-agentic. I saw some questions in the chat around this. So very quickly, the way we think about it is in the future, we may have a primary agent and many different assistant agents. And these assistant agents need to talk to each other and to the primary agent. Think of it as, we are seeing these vendors providing individual agents for their platform. And let's say if you are a retail ordering application, your data may span across Snowflake, Salesforce, ServiceNow, etc. Right? So these primary agents can bring all of these assistant agents together through some protocols such as MCP, which is agents to tool protocol. So think of it as how can Cortex agent talk to Cortex Analyst and Cortex Search. That can be governed by MCP. And then you have A2A, which is agent to agent protocol when you have multiple agents talking to each other. So that's kind of how we think the future is going to be. And, in terms of wrapping up our agents piece, Cortex agents, which uses analyst and search as tools, also large language models, is extremely powerful for enterprises to get meaningful information from both structured and unstructured data. As you saw in in what Dash was showing earlier. You can build apps that can be shared, that can be easily put together, and that can be used by business users using natural language. You have AI observability across the board. And this is a significant improvement over the reactive software tools that are available today. So we believe that agents have the potential to reduce both the software and the labor expense by orders of magnitude. So we are really excited about this. I'm really glad that we got to build agents together. And we have about 4 minutes left. So I'm going to pass it back to Dash to wrap it up.
Yeah, that's great. So we covered a lot, folks. Thank you so much for being here, first of all, for your time. We really, really appreciate it. I know there's some issues that people ran into. Some of these things are, just not can't avoid some of these things, but really appreciate that you're patient with us and in following along. Like I mentioned, the quick start guide is always there for you to check out. Every single step is outlined in detail. So please go back and see how it all works. We saw how Git integration can make your life really easy. By running a few SQL statements, you can pull in all the data you need for your workload or for your session. We saw how to process unstructured data, PDFs, images. We created 2 different tools, Cortex Search, Cortex Analyst, and how we also brought everything together in a streamlined application. It's pretty cool. Using REST APIs. We also saw how you can integrate that with external applications like Slack, Zoom, and Microsoft Teams. So again, thank you so much. Please follow us on LinkedIn. We always post a lot about different demos, different features that are coming out. So here's the most important part. Here's how you can get your badge. Okay, please browse to this URL. Okay, I'm going to leave it up for as long as I'm able to till I get kicked out. But please go to this URL, and then there's a quiz. Everything is based on what we've talked about today. There's nothing. There's no fine print. There's no hidden fees, if you will. All you have to do is earn 80%, and you'll get 2 attempts. And when you accomplish that, you will get this badge that you can share on social. So I'm going to stay here. Please browse to this URL. Also make note of this email address. So if you have any questions, please email this distribution list, and we will help you out with your badge or quiz-related questions from today. Anything else you want to say to close it out?
No, that's it. Thank you so much, Dash, for your time and helping us walk through the lab. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Please reach out if you have any questions. You have all the resources, and we are excited to see what you build with Cortex agents, with Cortex Search, with Cortex Analyst, and with Snowflake. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, before that, I want to see all these badges on social. Thanks again, folks. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. On your screen, you see 2 links. One that will take you to a page where you can see all of our user groups in EMEA and globally, and the other that will take you to our developer hub. I really can't wait to see what you build.
you.